we want to encourage people to look at a reasonable pace. Depends on where you are on this journey. If you are still, say both of you are, you know,
If there's a both of you.
yeah, if there's a both of you, but if all parties involved are currently employed full time, and you would like to transition one person to something and then later retire the other one, then you know use the time now to explore the options because there are many. And I think I've been playing around and can easily come up with 100 different options. And specifically, I'm not talking about just any option because there's thousands.
Yeah.
But I kind of limited it to the people that are over 50 because
So you're about options for
options
a side
for
business.
for hustles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there are so many, but if I'm looking at, hey, you're over 50, you need to be thinking about reality. Well, if I can do them over 50, then you can do them at 20, and then that's sustainable throughout your life.
Uh-huh.
Where you can make the mistake is taking on something when you're 30 years old that you can't do when you're 40. Or maybe you haven't had kids yet, and now you have kids and you can't do it. So you have to kind of think about the future. So that's part of what I've been doing is just, for the sake of going, well, and it helps solidify eBay for us, is I'm going back and forth saying eBay versus something. So last week, if you missed the live and you have any interest in flipping houses, I barely scratched the surface in talking about that, but compared and contrast eBay business versus flipping houses. And funny thing is, I remembered something that we forgot to talk about.
What's that?
And then I had a senior moment. So I've reached a point now where I just need to keep a pad and a pen in my hand at all times. But the one
Then
I
you
want,
forget why you have a pad and pen in
yeah,
your
probably. I probably have to ask, what am I doing? So, and that your day's coming, so be prepared for that. But one of the things that Hope spent a little time with, because in renovating houses, and we did a bunch of them, often, most of the time, people just abandoned stuff inside the house and left it. So, and I don't know that this necessarily primed the pump for eBay, but it did prime the pump for a booth. And we tried a booth and a little bit of marketplace, not really.
So our first taste of reselling.
Yeah, was this. And so, I would go and I would look at houses, and then once we acquired them and had keys, and I would go and be normally the first person with the key and changing locks and that kind of stuff. I'd wander around, and if there was some stuff that I saw was promising, I would call open, and she would meet me there either in, with my son and his van, or in the truck or whatever, because there was some certain things. And now the funny thing is there was always clothes, and we always left those behind. But we didn't know too much about eBay back then. But people would just leave priceless things. And, you could only assume that someone passed away and the children just didn't care. And so, or there was no children. Who knows?
I think a lot of times it was a rental property and somebody just went so far and got behind on their rent, and rather than getting evicted, they just up and left. And the amount of just personal items that people will just leave, like I guess basically they pack up the clothes that they want and they find a new place to rent, and then they start all over with
And
furniture
they
or whatever.
may not be able to afford a place big enough to take it. I mean,
It's possible.
I have photos, so I should bring them out at
It's
some
some
point.
pretty unbelievable
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, there's been houses where it was so packed that we were walking about 3 foot above the ground, and my head was hitting the ceiling because it was so packed.
Yeah.
There are garages that took 8 dumpsters to empty out. But we found old military stuff that was pretty cool, and a lot of antique things, whatever. But one of the things that would often catch our attention would be furniture. Now, there was plenty of junk furniture, but there was some family heirlooms in there that were like, whoa,
Yeah.
super nice.
One of the coolest pieces, and we still own it today, that we found buried deep in the bottom of a closet. I don't
Deep.
even know how they got it
Deep.
in there.
I don't know how we got it out, you and me.
Yeah.
Because it was,
But it was a blanket chest. I'd never seen one of these before. But basically it's like a rectangular box. And rather than the whole lid coming up, it just opens up partially on one side. And it would roll under a bed. It had little brass wheels on the bottom. And that was probably one of my first flipping projects, but I'd never refused to sell that one. I don't even think we ever attempted to sell it because I loved it so much. So I took the brass wheels off the bottom and converted it to a coffee table by putting metal hairpin legs on the corners, and it's in our living room right now. I love it. It stores blankets and video games. So
for our son.
cool piece of furniture that somebody had just left in a closet.
Yeah. So, you can see channels because I know there's this one young lady, and she went all in, and she actually turned her whole deal into almost a production line because she does a good bit. And I don't remember the name of her channel, but I watched some of her videos of her doing a lot of pieces. She ended up at one point somehow acquiring like 20 nightstands one time.
Oh, I was about to say, is this the channel where she does a lot of nightstands?
Yeah,
like
well,
in
at that
pairs?
time, it's because she got like 20 of them.
Okay.
And so she kind of worked them through her. She did it from home, and she worked them through the process. And I hope's done tables and desk and
Shelves.
and a nightstand before. And so, there's potential to make some money on those. And positive and negative. So number one was that there were a lot of pieces that we understood why they got left behind because we couldn't move them.
Oh, right.
We're like, that is a beautiful, well, of course,
Beautiful buffet.
or the TV.
Oh, the whole entertainment centers
yeah,
when
those were out
from
of-
back in the day when
in the day.
TVs were like 2 feet deep.
Yeah, comment below if you ever had a entertainment center that took up a whole wall.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I can see why they left it behind. There's no way, to get that we could get this out of here with just
Right.
the two of us. But I still have some memories that I have one piece that was, one was one grandmother and one was the other grandmother. And one of them is the piano bench to a beautiful old piano that we
It
couldn't
could
move.
not, yeah. I don't think, I'm not sure how the piano got into the room where it is.
A bunch of
or
really
was.
big people because of the way
They
it
had
was.
to go over a step.
Yeah,
and-
and there was no lifting the thing. But anyway, I have the pinch, and then I have the sewing stool from my other grandmother's, and those will never go anywhere as long as I'm alive. But there's a lot of stuff that I understand that people just can't. We struggled
them.
even when we did some dining room tables and that kind of stuff, mainly because of size.
Right.
Not that they were super heavy. No, they were not light, but they were not small. So we had.
Yeah, we've moved overseas and obviously didn't have a place to put or place
Oh man,
a dining room table.
I still
so we
remember-
gave it to a friend.
when we were overseas, there was we had to furnish basically a whole apartment, and we went to this place that was kind of like
A picker's dream.
oh my word, and we had the rooms in the place that we had just ended up being really big, and so it's not like we don't use a dining room now, but we didn't really need a dining room table, but we thought about it being more of a desk and work area kind of deal. This thing was huge. I can't remember how big it was.
It was basically like a sheet of plywood. It's about
if
4
not
feet deep,
4 by 8 at least, minimum. Might have been bigger than
With
that.
massive ornate legs which is it
And-
looked like it came out of a castle.
And clawfoot bottoms to them. Oh man,
It
was-
made a wonderful desk.
Yeah, it
Really
was
did.
it was super cool, but couldn't bring that one back with us.
No.
But we did get a lot of stuff from there. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a ton of stuff people just are throwing away. People that drive around. We don't do yard sales. Considered it, but that doesn't really work with our schedule right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't. But people all the time just driving down the street will see just free. Please take it.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens even just leaving here. We see
Yeah,
it
in the country. So
a couple times and resisted temptation to pull over because the only thing that saved me was I couldn't get it in the vehicle by myself and it was too big.
so is this a pro or a con?
So, comparing the two between eBay and furniture upcycling would be a nice way to put it. Just kind of reviewing a little bit about the positives to eBay was supposedly the low physical demand, and a lot of that low physical demand on yourself.
Oh, okay. All right. Not okay.
Stick with me.
Not sales demand.
No.
I was like, wait a minute.
No.
That doesn't work.
No, positives being that flexible schedule, low startup costs and operating costs, somewhat predictable income. I don't know how I necessarily feel about that, but
With eBay?
yeah, can be a little bit. I mean, the biggest deal is that
There's
there's
waves.
but,
there's a
depending on what you put into it. I mean, we're at the point now where we expect X number, except for
right.
not today yet.
Not today, not yet. I think that it's if you want consistent income, you have to be super consistent.
Input.
And that also means overtime. So like if you expect 10 sales a day, then you need to be doing a certain number and you need to be consistent for a long period of time before you can depend
Expect
on
that.
that. So we're about half of that.
So, negatives are that it is time intensive. It's something. It's 7 days a week. Like if you
Oh,
watched my
okay.
video a couple days ago, it's a job,
Yeah.
and we work for eBay and we work for customers.
Customers.
So
Everybody's got a boss.
yeah, and we got, especially for us, we've got a competitive market. So there's a lot of people that sell clothes. We are dependent on the platform. There are others, but if anything is proven itself this week, like I don't have the bandwidth for another platform right now because I'm just working
No.
with something else. And, it's not all that passive. So with furniture upcycling or furniture flipping, some positives are, and this is probably what appealed to Hope the most, was just the creative part of it. And she would do some stuff to furniture that I just had to say, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Because she would take a piece that, in my opinion, was like just beautiful wood and
Paint it.
it. So I didn't struggle so much with some of the hardware swapping out, that kind of stuff, although some of the stuff was pretty cool, and we should have kept it and sold it on eBay.
We did keep it.
Oh, did we? Oh, well,
Uh-huh.
good. We'll list it.
We have quite the selection of old hardware.
But I do have to say, over time, she kind of worked out. There was a specific type of paint and a specific type of finish for the wood. And she would do some combos, which at least exposed some of the wood. And doing it the way that she was doing it towards the end, I just loved the way they felt. And so, just very professional looking, despite the fact that I have a spray gun, but it's for a house, not for furniture. So she wasn't spraying anything,
No, everything was painted by hand.
and it really didn't look like that. So there's an art to it. And so she was, kind of, what's the word? She was feeding that creative itch that she had. Per item, the profits could be better could
Yeah.
be, not compared to the time.
No, and that is the major expense in
Yeah,
it.
so
You know,
we haven't got to
paint is not that expensive, but time is, and especially, and then this was our problem too with house flipping as well, is that if your standards are high, you're going to spend a lot of time working on something, and
not get paid for it.
and not get paid for that. So, you know, if you're fine with when it comes to upcycling furniture, if you're fine with the idea of spraying, of, you know, not necessarily that spraying is cutting a corner, but it is a shortcut to some degree. But and it speeds things along. So if you are not doing things in the fastest way possible with the least amount of physical effort, then you don't necessarily get rewarded for your additional efforts.
Yeah.
So with eBay, we are finding that balance because, especially even with photos, it is you. If you do the bare minimum, then I think your sales reflect that. If you spend a little more effort, I think your sales reflect that. But the question is, how much more do you do? Like,
Yeah,
at what
I mean,
point do
they'll never be
you?
perfect. And then,
Yeah.
we had to make a decision a long time ago that, what we have is what we have. And when we get to the point where we can fix the lighting, we'll fix the lighting. But pictures are better than no pictures.
Yeah.
Bad pictures are better than no pictures. But the other could be considered a positive is that you can do local sales. And this is where we started doing the booth. And we, at one point, we've had multiple booths at the same time because we had quite a bit of stuff. And,
Yeah.
it could be considered a positive. And I think at the time, we kind of thought of it as a positive. It's kind of cool. We had our store,
We did, and but the issue was we had the two booths and other things going on. So
And the two booths were not even remotely in the same area.
no, but I mean, like if that was my concentration, if I was only doing the two stores,
Only.
yeah. But
Yeah.
we were flipping houses and doing two booths at the same time.
And the houses we were flipping were nowhere near the places where the stores were.
No, and we were not doing it in a passive manner either. So.
No. So some people use Facebook Marketplace. We did not want people coming here. If there was a way that we could do it down at the bottom of the hill, that would be a little bit different story. But like too many people get too curious, and it's not that we necessarily don't want people coming up to the house. It's just that this is not set up for just people come up and be looky-loos kind of deal. And so it's hard to explain, but we are on the side of a hill, and it's it's not made for 15 cars,
Or
so-
two.
or I mean, we have a big
Long
space,
driveway.
but for us. So we didn't really go down the Facebook Marketplace bit. It was mostly just the booths, and we did kind of post some pictures on our personal stuff, like, hey, go check out the booth kind of deal. And so didn't hate the booth.
Yeah, we sold a decent amount
Yeah.
of stuff. It was just that,
We just had to make a decision where we're going to spend our time.
yeah. And so I think the similarity between upcycling furniture and as far as and selling it in a booth is very similar to eBay. If you occasionally show up and you're not in your store regularly working it, then it dies. And
Just like everything.
yeah. So very similar to eBay. If you're not showing up consistently and putting in new items, then your store dies.
Yeah. So I think we had technically 4 different stores in different locations, not at the same time, basically 2 at a time. And I know the first store kind of had a decent system, but if you've never had a indoor flea mall where you rent a booth kind of scenario, essentially you pay X dollars for a certain amount of square footage, irregardless if you sell anything or not. Just like having a physical store. So they're going to get that money whether you sell anything or not. But they also get a little cut from each individual
Yourself.
items. And so, and you have to be semi okay with that because guess what? You didn't go down there and open up the store and you didn't stay there and close it. And you also didn't, answer any questions, nor did you bring anybody up or help them get anything to the car or any of that kind of stuff. That was all we did was take things and drop that off. So that was the big bonus to that. And a lot of the, like some of the last ones, I mean, it was really quite electronic. And so we would know pretty quickly, when somebody, if we sold anything and they gave us great records and that kind of stuff. So, it can be considered semi-passive in the fact that, well, if you're not trying to, if you're just buying a piece or picking up a piece of furniture and cleaning it and dropping it off, then that's one thing. We were doing way too much. And later we quit doing that. But a lot of people would just get different kinds of items and maybe they make candles and their whole booth is candles, or some people just buy stuff and then sell it in a booth and do it that way. But so it can be semi-passive. The beauty is that, and that's one of the things that we love about eBay is that, we list it and then who knows who, when, what time, where in the world they look at it, So negatives about the furniture upcycling. And so for me, when it came to the furniture part of it, was the physical demands. Because at the time I was working a lot of hours. And so it was hard for me to be helpful in picking it up. At whatever location we were acquiring it from, and then unloading it when we got home, and then reloading it to take it to a booth, and then unloading it again. So it was really at the time more Hope's hustle than mine. And so, we were limited on what we could do because there's only so much that she can do by herself. And occasionally my son's not around here now, but at the time, or part of the time, he could help occasionally. So the physical demands are probably the biggest negative, but currently right now, space requirements. So like we operate and we trying to keep it to where the eBay business only occupies one of the 2-car garage. One of them. Of course, now all my other flipping stuff is taking up the rest of the garage.
Old house flipping equipment and supplies.
But we also have 4 freezers and a whole bunch of garden tools and stuff that we have to have for here. But animal stuff, feed and seed, and that kind of business. But to have, you really need at least one full bay, and that's really not enough room. Because if you're going to do any kind of upcycling at it, you need room to work, and you actually need time for it to sit and dry without animals. So dedicating a spot just for working on it is one thing, but the other part is the whole shipping and receiving part of it, bringing it in and out. You need room for that. And then, you got to have the basic tools. And if you don't have a good palm sander and different things like that.
It is, for the most part, a relatively inexpensive when it comes to tools.
Yeah, you can limit it. And there's some that are better than others for speed and efficiency. But really it was, more because of the size and the weight, was physical demands and the space requirements for us. And then we took it somewhere else, which required space that we had to rent. For some people, the time and skill investment, skill was not really the issue, but it took a lot of time. Now, if you've not really messed with wood, it's not,
does require a little skill.
It
because if you
requires
don't
skill.
know,
It requires
Yeah.
skill, especially if you're going to go to the trouble where some people are upcycling things and they're removing trim and putting new stuff on, and
making repairs.
yeah, filling holes, because you were changing hardware and all prep. There's a lot of steps, and you need to know, like, this doesn't work well with this, because you'll end up with a total disaster if you're not aware of what products to use together. So, and compared to like, we just got a Cha-Ching with eBay.
Was it a Cha-Ching, or I think it was a look? Somebody
was
was
it?
looking.
False Cha-Ching.
We're trying to manifest it.
Is that the income it can be pretty inconsistent.
Majorly.
So you don't ever know. You might go a week or two and not make $1, and then all of a sudden,
Have an awesome month.
have a weekend where somebody wipes you out of everything. So it's pretty inconsistent with that. And the startup cost depends. Like, for us, we had easy access to all this stuff. But for other people, if they're looking for it, you might have to buy it from somebody else on Facebook Marketplace. And so cost for that, plus the tools and supplies, is a little bit more than a poly mailer for eBay.
Yeah.
Plus it requires, storage, and stinks when the lids are off.
Oh, yeah.
So, just thinking about it from an over 50 perspective, reselling it on eBay it's not fully passive, but it's doable. Furniture upcycling, that's going to require a significant upfront effort, both physical, financial. Depends on, like, I don't know how much that lady was paying for, but she bought those 20 nightstands. The reason why she bought 20 is because she got a better deal by buying this guy out. But, and the whole effort versus reward. So if you, where doing the piece of furniture scratched the creative side that you wanted scratched, there's a whole lot of effort. And when you think about how much we ended up actually making, you didn't want to divide how many hours were spent getting done. So if that's what you're going to do, then don't, because nobody wants to pay.
Right. It was for one person doing it. It was not a scalable business.
And people go, oh, well, you can hire people now. Then there's zero profit.
Right.
If you hire somebody, then especially if you're like me, I'm not gonna be happy with what somebody else does. So risk tolerance, with eBay, it's a lot lower risk. And for instance, I was with the whole red duck heads scenario. Whatever happened with that, that's nothing compared to, buying a piece of furniture, fixing it up, paying for a booth, only for it to sit over there and not sell. Like, that was the beginning of us saying, this is not really,
It's not paying off.
it's not paying off. So, there's more of a risk when you're talking about upcycling furniture. And then when you think about the long-term fit, once again, what like we said with eBay is, like, if we keep it a reasonable amount, we can keep doing this for quite a long time, until I lose my mind and I don't remember why I'm in the room.
Not saying anything.
But when it comes to upcycling furniture, it would be super hard for us to do that right now, and only get harder. So,
Right.
Kind of a no-brainer for us. But, if you're younger, you could do it, and you could have fun. Don't expect to get super rich unless you're a lot more patient than I was with the ability to flip it on Facebook Marketplace and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I do think that people who focus on a certain thing and you become known as the, like that lady.
The guy that always has
Yeah, if
blah,
this
blah,
guy,
blah.
if you're looking for an end table, you need to go to this guy on Facebook Marketplace. That's one thing, which I think is kind of true of everything. But for us, that was something that we decided, even though, Hope had some fun doing it and, she turned out some pretty nice pieces. We were just like, time and effort, it's not worth the
No,
return.
it's something that I would do again for family,
For family.
for a gift or something. And we've done things like that before. I will say though, one of the interesting things is that both with house flipping, with furniture flipping, with eBay, is that there's all this sense of a second life for something. And I think that's the part of the story
For us,
that,
is a big
for
draw.
us is a big draw to it, because a blazer that some man no longer needs in his closet, that is donated, and we purchase it and we clean it and we zhuzh it up and make repairs or whatever that need to happen to it, and spend time doing really good photographs and putting the effort into listing it and selling it and providing it to someone else who gets to enjoy it at their daughter's wedding or